Live from WNY News, I'm Michael Jones in New York with these headlines. Indictment and charges are imminent in Trump's fake electors scheme and other crimes, says Fulton County District Attorney. Did Donald Trump confess to taking empty classified documents folders? Why did Facebook reinstate Donald Trump's Facebook account? Another classified documents debacle discovered. We will tell you where it was found. Why did Trump donated $1 million in Arizona election? How did Bill Barr and Donald Trump weaponize the Department of Justice for their own gratifications? Some political experts' analysis on why indictments and charges are imminent in the Fulton County, Georgia probe. Now for the details.
Conservative attorney John Eastman, a lead architect of some of former President Donald Trump's efforts to remain in power after the 2020 election, is facing disciplinary charges in California that could lead to his disbarment for helping former President Donald Trump try to overturn the 2020 election, which could lead to his disbarment, the latest in a slew of punishments the ex-president's lawyers have faced for representing or working directly with him. The state bar said Eastman faces charges that he violated the Business and Professions Code by making false and misleading statements that constitute acts of moral turpitude, dishonesty, and corruption.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis suggested Tuesday that the special grand jury investigating Donald Trump and his allies' efforts to upend the 2020 election in Georgia has recommended multiple indictments and said that her decision on whether to bring charges is imminent. At a hearing in Atlanta on whether to publicly release the special grand jury report, Willis said she opposes making it public at the moment, citing her ongoing deliberations on charges. Decisions are imminent, Willis told Judge Robert McBurney. We want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, and we think for future defendants to be treated fairly it's not appropriate at this time to have this report released. Senior reporter Nick Phillips has the rest of that story.
The special grand jury heard from a total of 75 witnesses, Willis said Tuesday. Its final report is likely to include some summary of the panel's investigative work, as well as any recommendations for indictments and the alleged conduct that led the panel to its. Donald Wakeford, Fulton County's chief senior assistant district attorney, also argued to the judge that it would be dangerous to release the report before any announcement related to possible charges is made. A media coalition, which includes CNN, is seeking for the full report to be made public, but McBurney, who oversaw the special grand jury's roughly 7-month investigation, will decide whether the report should be released publicly and, if so, how much of it. While the panel of grand jurors recommended its report be made public, so far, the contents have been closely held. Nick Phillips for WNY News, Atlantic.
The 2 times disgraced impeached former President Donald Trump claimed on Wednesday and confessed to taking and keeping only classified documents folders, but he didn't take classified documents to Mar-a-Lago, but only retained the folders the papers came in as a cool keepsake. He lashed out at the media and Democrats on his Truth Social network for promoting fake news. WNY News Florida correspondent Linda Thompson has more.
Trump is again lying about taking top-secret classified documents or keeping it at Mar-a-Lago. But as you can see in this picture are classified documents the FBI search warrant found at his residential club. Trump, 76, argued on his Truth Social media platform that the fake news media and crooked Democrats continue to claim that he had a large number of documents at the Florida resort to lessen the severity of the revelations about sensitive documents at President Biden's Delaware home and his Penn Biden Center think tank office in Washington. When I was in the Oval Office, or elsewhere, and papers were distributed to groups of people and me, they would often be in a striped paper folder with classified or confidential or another word on them. Prior to the FBI search of Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, Trump gave back 15 boxes of classified documents and asked his lawyers to lie about having any more top-secret classified documents in his possession. Unfortunately, when the search was conducted by the FBI, they found 300 more documents marked classified at Mar-a-Lago. Trump is seen in this photo wearing a black suit, boarding a private jet transporting what seems to be some classified documents in boxes to conceal them from the National Archives. Trump claimed when the session was over reviewing the classified documents, they would collect the papers, but not the folders, and I saved hundreds of them. He referred to the folders as ordinary and inexpensive, but said they were a cool keepsake. Critics are skeptical that Trump will take empty folders to keep as a cool keepsake. They belong in the National Archives, not with him. I'm Linda Thompson reporting from Mar-a-Lago, Florida.
After a 2-year ban from Instagram and Facebook, for his continued attack about the 2020 presidential election results, and following the January 6, 2021, Capitol insurrection, Donald Trump account has been reinstated, Meta spokesman says. According to report, Trump will not be allowed to cast doubt on 2024 election results. The decision comes after Twitter lifted its ban on Trump following billionaire Elon Musk's takeover of the company. But the former president, who now uses his own social media platform, Truth Social, to post messages, has not yet returned to Twitter. And Trump has not indicated if he will resume posting to his Facebook and Instagram accounts, but rather lashed out at the social media company for banning him in the first place. Metacritics thinks the company did this because of money. What do you think? You are listening to WNY News, from New York. The handling of classified documents has become very concerning to the National Archives, especially when classified documents seems to be in the possession of some former government officials and the way it was handled and stored. We know that 300 classified documents were found at former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort when the FBI searched his residence. Then, we heard from the Biden's lawyer that approximately 20 to 25 classified documents were found at President Biden's Delaware residence and in the office he had used when he was vice president under the Obama's administration, and now, we are learning about some classified documents were found in Mike Pence's Indiana home. Josephine Anderson reports from Indiana.
Former Vice President Mike Pence said Friday that he takes full responsibility after classified documents were found at his Indiana home. The discovery of documents at Pence's home came 5 months after he told the Associated Press, ABC News, and CBS News that he did not take classified records with him when he left the vice presidency. "No, not to my knowledge," he said when asked if he had retained any such information. Documents with classified markings were discovered in former Vice President Mike Pence's Indiana residence last week, his lawyer says, the latest in a string of recoveries of papers meant to be treated with utmost sensitivity from the homes of current and former top U.S. officials. A total of 4 boxes containing copies of administration papers, 2 in which a small number of papers bearing classified markings were found, and 2 containing courtesy copies of vice presidential papers were also discovered. According to Pence's lawyer, arrangements were made to deliver those boxes to the National Archives Monday. Pence, Trump and the Republicans' GOP have criticized President Biden's handling of classified documents but fall short of criticizing former President Donald Trump, who is keeping hundreds of classified documents and he refused to return them back to the National Archives because he claims the documents belongs to him. The Archives is asking the past 6 former presidents and VPs to check their houses for any classified documents that they may still have in their possession. Josephine Anderson for WNY News reporting.
This is WNY News. In another development, we now know one of the enduring mysteries surrounding the chaotic attempts to overturn Donald Trump's defeat in the 2020 presidential battle has been solved, and the person who partially bankrolled the failed attempt to prove that the election was stolen from Trump was Trump himself. It was the reason Donald Trump donated $1 million to audit back to Trump's Save America PAC in Arizona. Eugene Howard reports.
Cyber Ninjas, the Florida-based company that led the Arizona audit, disclosed in 2021 that $5.7 million of its budget came from several far-right groups invested in the Stop the Steal campaign to overturn Joe Biden's presidential victory. It was later divulged that a further $1 million had supported the audit from an account controlled by Cleta Mitchell, a Republican election lawyer who advised Trump as he plotted to subvert the 2020 election. In September 2021, as Cyber Ninjas was preparing to deliver its findings, according to New York Times, that unnamed officials had denied that Trump had played any part in securing the funds for Cyber Ninjas. WNY News reached out to Trump's lawyer for comment, but they did not return our call. Eugene Howard, WNY News, Arizona.
When Donald Trump and the Republican GOP, talked about Joe Biden administration is weaponizing the Justice Department to investigate him and his MAGA mob supporters for the January 6 insurrection. It is all lies and it cannot be substantiated. Quite recently, reporters find out about how Trump and former Attorney General Bill Barr weaponized the DOJ for their own gratifications. They used the department to investigate Trump's critics, the media, political leaders, as well as government officials. Senior political correspondent and legal expert, Emmanuel Johnson tells us more.
Bill Barr appointed John Durham as special counsel to investigate the investigators who investigated Donald Trump's Russia collusion saga because Barr knew Trump was really angry about Bob Mueller, who was looking into how Trump's campaign coordinated with Russia. Mueller investigation revealed that Mr. Trump campaign officials had more than 140 contacts with Russia. The investigation was meticulously detailed as well as documented numerous counts of obstruction of justice by Donald Trump which he did not like, so he convinced his then Attorney General, Bill Barr, to investigate those that dug out and documented his collusion with Russia. After 4 years of intensive investigation, John Durham uncovered no wrongdoing, but Mr. Durham at one point veered into a criminal investigation related to Donald Trump himself. By the same time, Trump was saying that the Mueller report found no collusion with Russia, but the report detailed numerous links tied to the Russian government in Moscow worked to help Donald Trump win the 2016 election. Meanwhile, in 2019, Bill Barr decided to dig into their shared theory that Russia investigation likely stemmed from a conspiracy by intelligence or law enforcement agencies. Bill Barr and John Durham were globetrotting in Europe asking foreign officials to help them find any dirt they had about the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation that will comport with the narrative they were looking for. During that trip, Italian officials told them they had no dirt, but unexpectedly offered a potentially explosive tip linking Donald Trump to certain suspected financial crimes. After they were told about Trump's financial crimes, Barr and Durham decided that the tip was very serious and credible to ignore. But, rather than assigning another experienced prosecutor, Bill Barr appointed John Durham, his buddy, who have no experience or jurisdiction to investigate such a case. Durham never filed charges and it remains unclear what level of investigation it was, what steps he took, what he learned, and whether anyone at the White House found out about this scandal. We tried to contact Bill Barr, Trump and Durham for comment, but they didn't respond to our request. I'm Emmanuel Johnson reporting from the Justice Department in Washington.
Fulton County District Attorney, Fonnie Willis, said if someone takes that away or violates it in a way that is criminal, because I sit here in this jurisdiction it's my responsibility. Willis requested a special grand jury to investigate the case and the panel began its work in June 2022. Calling a roster of witnesses that included Raffensperger, Gilani, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Willis has previously said she could pursue racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations aka RICO charges in this case, which would allow prosecutors to bring charges against multiple defendants and make the case that Trump and his allies were part of a criminal enterprise. The level of pressure is all-encompassing, and with all the mounting evidence, you can't afford to lose a case like this. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm Michael Jones for WNY News in New York. Thanks for watching and good night everyone.